everyone, and welcome back to the Match Slip podcast. Today, we're going to be interviewing Chris from the Comic Dimension out in North Carolina. Chris, thank you for coming on the show today.
No problem. It's great to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So, what part of North Carolina is your store located in?
We're located like in the middle of North Carolina. It's a city called Greensboro.
Okay, and how long have you had the store open for, and how long have you been running it?
200 years. No, it seems like that sometimes. No, we've been open for over 8 years now.
Oh wow, that's a good amount of time.
A lot of things have changed during that time.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm sure it's been, the on and off struggle with having to get through the various years of, managing the business and, keeping the lights on and everything. I'm sure that's probably one of the biggest, I would imagine, challenges when you're running a game store.
Yeah. Like a lot of people kind of think, oh, like you're just making money hand over fist and everything. And it's, it depends, on a lot of different things, like what your rent is going to be is like the biggest bill you'll have. So if you want a nice place, you're going to have a higher rent. And that and then you got to put cost into everything. Since we're retail, we only get like a certain percentage, of a discount, and things can be difficult. Plus COVID, that whole COVID thing happened. So there been some rough times. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely been worth it. It's been awesome. I've met incredible people, over the last 8 years, and it's definitely been a learning and just a wonderful experience overall.
That's great to hear. On a day-to-day basis, when you go into the store and you run things, are you running it by yourself currently? Do you have any business partners or any employees?
There's a co-owner. Me and him, we're like brothers and have been for decades. His name is Neil, and he he has a whole bunch of other stuff, so he isn't as active in it as far as as I am. And we have some employees, definitely, and I manage it, co-own it.
How many hours a week is it that you're having to put in?
Now is a lot better than the first several years. The first couple of years, was a lot of figuring out what the right times were and everything. So like in the beginning, I'd be working 100, 120 hours a week. And, just which can be grueling and exhausting. And then just as we got more established over all the years, and as we, as I was able to get employees on, I've been able to decrease it. And now, now it's a lot less. Now it's only about 40 hours a week.
That's good. You have some work-life balance now. You don't have to dedicate, every waking hour to it like you did in the beginning.
I do still have to put like every waking hour and non-waking hour. So, so I'll get messages almost every day after we close. And so like the latest we'll close is 11, PM, our time. And I'll get messages like 4 a.m, 11:30, just much later. And, I got to respond to them. I just wake up and respond, immediately to them. Yeah. I never turn my phone off.
I can understand. And is it the players that that the customers that come to your store that are reaching out? Is it distributors, combination of both?
For the late stuff, it's not distributors. It's people asking questions, regulars, everything but distributors. Distributors, they tend to end at 5 p.m. So yeah, I don't hear from them typically after 5 p.m.
Well, at least that's a good thing. At least you don't have it dual context from each side, from the customer base and the distributors asking you questions. But yeah, I can imagine that running a store, it's even though you're able to not have to put 120 hours like you were saying, and you're down to 40, it's still a constant paying attention even when you're at home.
Oh yeah, I'll be in the middle of I was in a family gathering, me and my fiance and our daughters. We were in the middle, like we had just gotten food delivered. It was nice food, from like a steakhouse. We were gonna, eat and just have a good time around the table. And then I got a call that I had to take, and I wound up missing the whole meal.
Oh, geez, that stinks. But I'm guessing, it's one of the gives and takes of the business of having your own business because there's nobody else it falls on but you.
Yeah, a lot of times people, they're like, "Oh, well, you're the owner. You can just make your own hours." Unfortunately, that's not true. Um, because the customers come first. So it is what it is. I just, if someone asks something, I have to answer them. I have to help them. I have to give them like the best customer service that I can, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I have people asking questions and hitting us up. So
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a really good grasp on the business. It's good to hear. And so, what made you want to get into running a game store, or I should say, open the business in the beginning years when you started it?
so I've always had a love for comics. I've been reading comics for since I could read. Like the first
Same.
comic book I read was an Archie comic, and it was one of them little bitty Archie comics. Like I don't know if you remember, but they used to come like real small, and I would read that and just keep reading it, and then back then there was newsstands. You'd have to go to a newsstand, and there would be like this little metal thing you twirl around and see the comics, and I would get comics that way. Um, I just I've just always loved and enjoyed comics, and gaming has always been a part of my life too. I've always loved and enjoyed it. It's just been a dream. It's one of those things where you just have a dream. And Neil, like I said, my good friend Neil, him and I were just talking one day, and we were just talking about it, and we're like, hey, let's make our own store, and we did. And the rest is history. Yeah, we just it's just a labor of love. We do this purely for the community. The money that we make goes straight back into the store, because we're always seeking to improve, always seeking to get better. Every year we do some type of big project to help things, just to make it look better aesthetically, just to improve the customer's experience. Like we got life size statues of Spider-Man, Deadpool, the Hulk. Our floor is like custom made. Only one place in the world makes that kind of carpet that we have on the majority of the store, and that's this place in Las Vegas, and it's like super colorful, and every single detail of the store has been custom made, even the color of paint that our walls are. So our walls are we had to make this color. We call it crushed green, and we had to come up with that, and everything's we believe in doing things for the environment as much as we can. So like all of our lights are LED. We recycle, like try to do everything as best as we can, and that's what causes us to always try to improve the store, just to make it better.
And when, from the moment you talked with Neil, from the time to when you opened the store, how long did it take before you finally launched the store? Was there a lot of time in between?
Yeah, yes, yeah, it was several months, because well, we had to come up with a name for the store. The name of the store is the Comic Dimension, and that took days. Like we were just nonstop coming up with different things, and we were like, no, that doesn't fit, and then we research it and everything to make sure no one else in the world owns it, because we trademarked the Comic Dimension, with our with our lawyers. We're trademarked, so no one else can use the Comic Dimension. So stuff like that, and then just finding the perfect place also was a big thing for us. Finding the perfect location, like a safe location, a nice location. everyone's going to feel safe in, that's brightly lit. Ours is pretty close to a college, to actually to a bunch of colleges, because Greensboro is kind of a college town. Because they're UNCG, A&T, Greensboro College. There's a whole bunch of colleges in the city of Greensboro, and we're located just like a mile and a half away from those. So we get a lot of college students, and it's awesome to see that excitement and everything when they come in.
It sounds like you're in a prime location, especially being near a college. How big is your store in terms of like square feet?
2,050 square feet. I mean, yeah, 2,050 square feet.
Okay. And is it something like, I know you said you like the location you're in, you like the store and everything. Is there any future like ambitions of opening something even bigger down the line? I know there's obviously the costs involved with doing so, but is that something you and Neil have talked about?
We have, and when if that ever arises, we would, if opportunities, like it would take several different kind of opportunities to open up, and if those did, we would love to expand. Like I said, it's purely for the community, that that's what we've given and done, and blood, sweat, and tears, literally, for it's just been for the community, for every kind of community that we have there at the store.
That's excellent. And, I was really intrigued by that you said, your love of comics and everything. And I have the same love for comics as well. I've been reading them since I was a kid. I'm 35 now. So you're doing both comics and games and like hosting events. Is that right?
Yes. So we have well over 50,000 comics. We used to do a lot of new comics. However, over the years, we've just seen some trends in the, what's the word for it? I want to say in the
In the industry as a whole?
in yeah yeah, in the industry. Yes, some trends in the industry and everything. There were a lot of big trends, a lot of big things that happened in the industry that regular, like that non-owners wouldn't know about. There were some huge things that happened in the industry, and so we concentrate on older comics now.
Okay, so I'm guessing you have an extensive, based on the number you mentioned, I'm guessing you have an extensive back issue bin.
Yeah, oh yeah, like one of the projects we did last year for the store was, we have like a 50-foot wall, and we had a custom made thing that goes across that 50-foot wall, that's 3 layers high. It's got 3 layers to it, and that's just filled with comics, older comics, and then like all the other displays that we have that are just older comics. And we even have a dollar bin. Growing up, like, I think we might be, from what I've been told, we're like the only place around that does a dollar bin anymore. And growing up, I always loved that. I love the dollar bin section, where you go in and it's $1 for each comic, and you just find just good stuff to read. Um, and yeah, we have a custom made, dollar bin section, and it's got thousands and thousands of comics in that too. And we even got a ton of comics just ready to replace comics as we sell them. So yeah, a spot doesn't stay open too long.
And, with not having to invest in the newer comics, since you're mostly focusing on the older comics, the back issues, I'm guessing you're not having to work with distributors from that standpoint and having to place the orders for like new comics that come out based on what you're currently specializing in.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a big thing. That took a lot of time. The discounts just aren't there. And then also, that's the only industry out of all my distributors, for all the different, I got like 20 different distributors for all kinds of products. The comic book industry is the only industry that I have to pay shipping on, and they charge a lot.
And you're only able to purchase pretty much from Diamond as the main distributor in that world, right?
Um, there's now another company called PRH, and also However, just with how I was looking at things and observing and seeing things, and I love comics. I love the new comics that come out. There's still tons of great stories, that are being told. Um, just economically, it's just not, that shipping, the low discounts. You have to have a huge amount, and then if you're doing subscriptions, people are expecting a discount on top of that also, and it's like you would have to be in business like since the 80s or something, 80s or 90s, to have that kind of a large base already of people that are subscribed to even make that kind of worth it, which is unfortunate.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, it's not, I guess, financially feasible based on the current structure of how things currently are within the industry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just low discounts, and then those discounts are eaten up by, like I said, the humongous shipping, like way beyond normal shipping prices.
Right, and it cuts deep into the margins that you would make.
Yeah, so it just become to a point where it just wasn't feasible anymore. To it just didn't make sense anymore. Like we're just losing money.
Right, and that's completely understandable.
Yeah, we were it become to the point where I was doing the numbers and everything, and if our town isn't a giant town or anything like that, and there's others, there's a lot of other, well, not a lot, but there's several other comic stores and everything that have been there longer than us or are part of kind of like a franchise almost. um, and those kind of comic stores, have that huge base, whereas being 8 years sounds like a lot. But however, in reality, it's not a long time as far as like owning an actual, a comic store.
Right. I'm sure though those 8 years, even though it's like you said, it's a good amount, but not 20 years. But I'm sure for you and Neil, 8 years feels probably feels a lot longer.
Yeah, yeah, it does. All the time and everything we put in, it just really, that's why I said the joke at the beginning. Oh, 120 years or something like that. Yeah, feels a lot longer because it's become my life. Um, like I'm like living for the store to help everybody out. You know,
It's a good thing you love it though, because then I'm sure if you didn't and it just became just, purely just the quote unquote a job, I'm sure then it wouldn't be as, a labor of love like you mentioned.
yeah. Oh, that's definitely true. And like I said, there's so many wonderful people, that I've gotten to meet, and I love it when someone comes in and wants to talk comics with me, and we'll talk about like, oh, who's your favorite, and all that kind of stuff, and then we have the gaming as well. We do Magic the Gathering, we do Dungeons and Dragons, Hero Clicks, board games. So those have been really big things for us as well.
That's excellent. Yeah, Magic the Gathering is what I love playing myself, in addition to reading comics. Before we get into the gaming, I just wanted to ask. I'm curious. Who's your favorite comic book superhero to read?
My favorite hero. Okay, so here I guess I can give my top five. Superman is my first. Aquaman's my second. Wonder Woman's my third. Hulk's my fourth, and fifth changes. But I'm gonna say Shazam, or yeah, or Captain Marvel if you want to call it that,
Okay. All right. That's a unique one.
because that was his original name. But yeah, he's
Right.
Shazam now. So
You'll get a kick out of this. Superman, Aquaman, and Green Lantern are actually my three top least favorites.
see, actually, I used to be like that. Growing up reading comics, I was like, oh, I don't like Superman. He's too good, blah blah blah. And I was, Wolverine and Batman and all these other ones were my favorites. But just over the years, um, just I changed.
Mhm.
So it's like I like Superman because he's so good. Um, I like Aquaman. He's so underrated, yeah, and I blame the Legion of Super Friends. The Super Friends cartoon where they only brought him out and you know, whenever they had the, you know, oh, we have to go to the ocean, we need Aquaman, and he'd come riding the seahorses and let me speak to the animals. Do, 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 do. You know, he'd do his little mental stuff, and that
Yeah.
would be it. He has so many more powers than just that.
Yeah. So, like for me, Spider-Man has always been my favorite. Captain America, the Hulk, Venom, and Batman and Carnage have always been like in like my collection. I know I gave I think like six there, but I've always been a Marvel guy for the most part. I've always liked Batman, but I don't seem to find these days myself reading as much DC as I maybe used to when I was younger. I tend to read Marvel a lot these days.
Yeah, growing up, I was, you know, I was everything. However, it was mostly Marvel. Like you said, it was Spider Man. You know, tons of Spider Man, Captain America, X Men. What did you say your third favorite was after Spider Man and Cap?
I'd probably say Hulk.
Yeah, and a ton of Hulk. Now, Hulk has stayed one of my favorites. I just love that dynamic. You know, of him always fighting the monster within.
Yep, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type dichotomy between his split personalities.
Yeah, and then just the old Bill Bixby TV show, the Hulk, just at the end where he's like of every episode, he's walking away from one town to the other, and they're playing that song, do 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 do, and it like just makes you want to cry. The name of that song, by the way, is "The Lonely Man." Yeah, you could get it like on iTunes. But it's called The Lonely Man. Just I remember like every episode at the end when they'd show him walking away, I'd always get like tearful eyed and be like, "Oh man, this poor guy. He's cursed. Like when will he get a break?"
And you know what I miss with the Hulk character is the Incredible Hulk title. I haven't seen in quite some time, like the original title that you and I would be used to having read. I
Yeah,
don't see it as much anymore. They've been doing a lot of offshoot titles. I'm really hoping they're going to bring it back someday because for me, I have a separate store for going to my game store to play Magic the Gathering, and then I have a separate comic book store, and both stores just so happen to exclusively only deal in one or the other, unlike your store, which does both. And I was talking to the comic store owner, and I said, have you heard anything about if the Incredible Hulk, the original title, is going to be coming back? And he wasn't sure when it was coming back, and he hadn't heard anything. So it was kind of I don't know if you've felt the same way. Like where's the original title?
yeah. So they've done a lot of different title changes for some. Well, the reason for that that's part of the industry is to create number ones because people will buy a number one. So they'll come out with the totally awesome Hulk, which was not Bruce Banner. It was Amadeus Cho. Um, and then what other Hulk's series was there? There was that one.
The Immortal Hulk. There was that
Yeah,
one. That one was pretty good. I read a number of the issues. I didn't get to read the whole thing, but I think what was his name? Al Ewing, I think, wrote the Immortal Hulk.
I don't remember if it was him or not. I thought it was. Well, there were different writers. I know that because at the beginning it was very much a horror. Wait, the Immortal Hulk, was that the?
That was the one like showing a darker side of the Hulk character.
Yeah, at the beginning, yeah, it was the horror one, and I loved that where he was like going from town to town still, just like the Bill Bixby thing. However, he was using the Hulk to punish people that were doing like horrible things, people that, like a child abuser. And then he'd use the Hulk, he would turn to the Hulk at night,
Hmm.
and the Hulk would go and punish like these, like horrible people that were doing these horrible things. And yeah, the horror aspect of that was like incredible. Like it was like the first six issues were just really awesome because it was, it was a Hulk comic that was a horror comic at the same time.
Yes, very unique twist that definitely I think was drawing people in and was from what I heard nothing but positive reviews personally about what people thought of the comic, even when talking to my comic shop owner.
Yeah, it was. it was really really good. I loved it. And then they got some different writers in there, and they were like doing some different stuff, I believe. And I'm pretty sure there were some different writers. And it changed there. It was still good. It just changed.
Yeah, you tend to see that a number of times, especially when you start mixing writers into the mix, that change starts to occur.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was some different writers. I do know that, you know, Al Ewing, like you said, he did a lot of it. And I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong, but I think because it definitely changed. As far as like where it was going, there was that. Let's see, there was trying to think of what some other titles were, because like you said, there were several different titles.
Yeah, like in terms of like straying away from the mainstream, title that comic readers from over the years have gotten used to. Like we've noticed that Amazing Spider-Man has always been there, even though there was the Superior Spider-Man, which I wasn't a fan of at the time. Um, wanting to see those original titles. They do from time to time tend to shelf it. I'm guessing they're testing things out. That's what I always assumed. Is I was like, oh, maybe they're testing it out so that at a later point, when they bring back the title, it stirs up the hype and they could have more people buying the comic.
Well, there's that, and then also just like I said, those number ones. They like to create number ones because people
Yep.
will buy a number one, even if they don't ever read it. They buy it just to collect it. There was Indestructible Hulk. That was it. I remember now. Indestructible Hulk was, one of the that was a series for a bit, and that had, its ups and downs. There was some stuff that was really cool, and then there was, some stuff that, it was different. There was that they had the Rampaging Hulk, like I think that was in the 70s, like late 70s. I don't think that was a long series. Yeah, as far as the Incredible Hulk,
Hopefully it comes about. Yeah, hopefully it comes about soon. That I'm hoping, but I
I
know
don't know.
it's the industry is ebbs and flows. So at some point, hopefully it comes around again.
I think there's going to be like a new Incredible Hulk series. No, never mind. That was something different. Yeah, I've not heard of them bringing back the Incredible Hulk series. It's, like just the Hulk. You know.
Yeah. I guess you know what it is, just one of those things time will tell, to see what happens. But in terms of with the store, since I know you, as we were talking about, that you sell comics and whatnot, mostly focused on back issue bins, but you also do the events at the store. So from a day-to-day operation standpoint, what do your days look like? Like you get up in the morning, you go to the store. Like what does a typical day look like for you?
All right, yeah. So for a day that I go to the store, I wake up, shower, eat or whatever, and then I go open up the store, do cleaning and stuff, and helping customers, making calls, doing dealing with distributors, making new orders. It's like I'm ordering stuff like every day. A lot of it is just spending that quality time with the customers. Just being as helpful as possible, which takes up a lot of time. Um, someone comes in and they're like, "Hey, I'm looking for this," and it's what I say, well, let's find out together if we have this. And then I take them over to where it's at, and then I show them, hey, everything's alphabetized, blah blah blah, separated according to DC, Marvel, Indie, and now let's see if we have exactly what you were looking for. So I show them how to use, the system that we have in the store. It's a simple system. Like I said, everything's marked DC. This section's DC, this section's Indie, this section's Marvel. Everything is alphabetized. Um, and then, like I said, it's just, I just explain that to them and then help them look for stuff. And that does, that takes up a lot of time.
I can imagine. Outside of helping the customers and stuff, you mentioned something that caught my attention, which was with the pretty much talking to distributors all day. What does that entail? Because I'm sure people listening to this right now, don't realize that the costs involved from a game store owner standpoint, and the margins, particularly with I know with the gaming, like Magic the Gathering, if we use that for as an example, like the booster boxes, like buying those. I've heard that the margins aren't very high. So if you could talk about what it's like dealing with the distributors and from a game store owner standpoint, and the overhead you have, like, can you give people an idea of like what that entails and why, that side of the business side, like why sometimes you have to charge a certain price for it?
So obviously, everything in the world has gone up in price, and since COVID, um, and it seems like it's still going up in price. Everything, everything from snacks and to drinks to you know Magic the Gathering to anything, everything. So yeah, there's no one particular thing. I have seen everything in the world go up in price,
Hmm.
and we all know, they're not going to go back down. They're not going to, they're saying, oh, it's because of labor, or it's hard to find labor, or it's difficult to find, the products now, because of COVID is still a thing. And it set people, the world back so much. Very difficult to, so I have great relationships with all my distributors. Like, yeah, we're normally like friends on Facebook and stuff, and we chat a little bit, and the distributors that I have are really nice, and very helpful. Um,
That's good.
just like the margins are, like you said. So what would you think a normal margin should be?
From when you trickle down after, Wizard sells to the distributor sells to you, I would think from a good healthy margin, I would imagine would be 20 to 30%. You would hope for at the minimum.
Yeah, I was asking you, what do you think a margin should be?
Oh, what I think it should be, like from your standpoint, like what's what when you're selling it.
Yeah, like yes, what the margin should be so that you can actually pay all the bills and everything like that, and maybe make a little bit of money.
Yeah, if I was in your position, I would probably be happy with if I was able to get like 30, 35 at the high end. I'd probably be satisfied with 30% if I was able to get that, but I know that the numbers are a lot lower than that.
The To pay the bills, to pay rent, to pay for the Wi-Fi that we provide, that free to the customers, for the electricity, the heat, the air, every, you got to put all that stuff in there. 50% is what should be the norm. Like that should be what it is. If you're making 50% margin, then that's good. Like that's enough to sustain, and then also help everything with the business, because you got to buy. If someone buys something, you have to replace it. However, so 50% is the normal. Like that's, with like drinks and like snacks and stuff, we're able to do that. However, like with everything else, it's not, like you said, it's like 30%, 25%, and that's real difficult.
Especially when you take the other things like you mentioned, Wi-Fi, heating, or air conditioning, depending upon the season, and that cuts into the profits as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so like and rent's the biggest thing. Oh, and then there's insurance. You got insurance also, and then you have an accountant. You have to have an accountant, and there's so much stuff. And there, we'll have people come in and be like, well, can you match Amazon? And we're like, we're sorry, unfortunately, we're just a small, locally owned business, and we can't match Amazon.
Right. There's that people I think forget about the overhead that you're paying.
That, and we're not getting whatever discounts. Amazon's probably getting like 70, 80% off or something.
Right. Yeah, because like Wizards is selling directly to them. There's no middleman with the distributor.
Yeah, and for everything, yeah. So it's just like no small business can compete with that. So we don't compete with that. We just offer other stuff. Try to be as helpful and loving. Just to be honest, as loving and helpful, and positive as possible. To our customers, and also we provide a place to play. Amazon, if Amazon shuts down all the small businesses, then guess what? Like magic will disappear.
Yep.
All these things are going to disappear because no one will have a place to play.
Right. That's so true. And that's the thing I've always felt is what you all in the game store industry, that's I hope people realize that's the biggest one of the biggest services you're providing that you can't get somewhere else. Like, yeah, people could play online on Spell Table, for example, but I don't know. I've always loved playing in person. That's always been the way I like to play.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best way to play because you're there, you're talking to other people, you're meeting new people face to face. You're getting to pick up each other's like vibes and everything, and you're just able to. It's just great. And yeah, if Amazon shuts down all the stores, which here's the thing, if they ever did shut down all the stores, they'll go up with their prices.
Oh yeah, at that point they don't have to have any competition at that point.
Yeah, if they eliminate all the small businesses, then guess what? That's what they're going to jack their prices up, and then everyone will lament and be like, oh, blah blah blah, and it's just like that's just the way that life is.
I know it's the nature of the beast, but I mean, I think you had alluded to it with the having the food and drink as a supplement to the business. I'm sure that there's
Yeah, unfortunately, you cannot sustain a business with that unless you're selling 10,000 snacks and 10,000 drinks a day. It just it can't. Like we can have so our gaming area, we have a large, really nice custom made tables, um, really nice chairs. We don't have the white fold out tables, white fold out chairs, nothing like that. We have everything in our store is really nice, for comfort, because we want it to be different. We're a premium store as far as Wizards of the Coast goes.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, so we are a premium store, which was a lot of work and a lot of money and everything to get that. So that was quite an accomplishment. And we're honored by that.
Congrats. That's great.
Thank you. It's just, yeah, no small business can compete with Amazon. You just can't. And we offer more than what Amazon does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I forget where I was going just a minute ago. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries at all. It's very interesting to hear, what you're going through as a store owner. And I know, I mean, like you mentioned with, having a place to play, you're mentioning, the events a little bit earlier. I know we didn't dive too into that yet, but the events that you run. So you have Magic the Gathering. What other events do you run?
Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons is huge at our store. Hero Clicks as well, board games, and that's what we have. We have a large Magic the Gathering single section, and we do sell some boxes and packs of like Pokemon. However, they're just we haven't gotten a community at the store for that yet. I would love to. I would love to. I just have to find some people that play, that can teach others and everything like that. That would be wonderful. It's just yeah, it's very difficult. Like talking with the margins, like it's just not. People think it's like immediate. Oh, you're just, like I said before. Like, oh, you're going to just make so much money, and we thought so maybe at the beginning, and then the reality struck, and it's not, and it's not there. Like Neil and I, we don't get no money from the store. Just to be honest, we everything is our employees. We pay them good wages, give them lots of perks, paid time off, stuff like that. So we treat our employees really well, and so any extra money we have goes towards them, and then saving up to try to improve the store in some kind of way every year as well. And then like you said, that 35% we got on that box, well, we got to buy the box, buy a new box to replace that box. And that 35% it's really difficult to make it like that. That's why there's so many game stores or comic book shops that open up and then close within just, a couple years, because those margins are just really not there,
It's unfortunate, but I think what you're doing with your store, you seem like you're doing all the right things. You seem like a really good dude. And I could tell that people, seem to really like going to your store. I mean, you're always looking to expand upon it. You're trying to find more games to offer, like you mentioned with Pokemon. Um, and what kind of, like, in terms of the turnouts of the events, how are those shaping up these days? Like, are you noticing a lot of turnouts to Magic events versus the Digimon events?
We don't have like any Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon. Like, it just, in this area, it's just not. We we're willing to try anything. There's this new game called Alpha Clash coming out, and there's an ambassador who lives here, and he's a super nice guy, and he contacted us, and I was like, yes, yeah, sure, yeah, we'll host events, and he's got a great attitude, and he's working on building a community for that. And yeah, mostly it's Magic the Gathering for our events. And they, with the Magic the Gathering, we have 30 to 50 people. We can, and we're just a small local business, but those are regulars that are coming, and every week we get new people that come in. And so it's there's times when we have to bust out extra tables, and we have extra chairs and stuff where we're just filled to the brim, and that's a good thing. That's why we do it. That, like I said, Neil and I aren't getting money from this at all. We put money into this, like, yeah. And I don't think a lot of people realize that like literally, like, the money goes to employees and getting new products and improving the store. And like Neil and I, we don't get paid from it or anything. So it all goes straight back into the community. And it's because we just love the community, and we love the people. We love this kind of stuff. So for us to make these, like, sacrifices, we're willing to do that, because, when you love something, that's what you're willing to do.
That's really great to hear. I really appreciate hearing something like that. When I was a teenager, my game store growing up while I was in high school went out of business, and I didn't even know at the time. And it was just one day when I went there and I drove to the store, and I was walking up, had my stuff, and I noticed the door was locked. I looked inside through the window, and it was just like, looked like it had been torn to pieces. And I didn't get to play for a number of years until I was in my late 20s, until I found a game store at the time. And then I found a different one that was more comfortable for me. And just to the type of games I was looking to play. So when I realized something like that, that's why I do the show, to showcase, stores like yourself, and, to try to make people, aware of, like, what you guys are going through to keep it available, and, giving us a place to play. So it's much appreciated.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. Like I said, we love this stuff, and it's worth it to us, that to make the sacrifices that we've made, to do this.
For sure. You're doing a great service, and I know it's not easy. I know I'm sure there are the nerve-wracking situations, especially with the expenses that you deal with every day. But, with what you're offering, especially like you said, you have an ambassador who's trying to get another game going. I think that's a great thing. We have somebody at our store who is an ambassador for the legacy format with Magic the Gathering, and he pretty much all throughout Long Island, which is where I live, he's gotten legacy events to fire off, when normally that format, because the cards are expensive for it, is hard to play. But he's been that ambassador for the game, and the game stores around the area have taken him up on it and have done like what you have done. So it's always good when you see the players willing to help out in the same token. I'm sure that's helpful from your end as well, in terms of a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, you always have to be able to be willing to change, and be open, towards that change. I have found, at least, because if you're not, the times, they are always changing. So you have to be able to change, because there was a time when our store was like modern and standard. Like that was the thing, like 5 years ago. Like a year before COVID, that stopped and it became all Commander, as far as the format, and now we have Pioneer that we're doing also. However, we're still open to anything. If modern players want to play, hey, we'll set you up. There's nothing, no format or anything that we don't like. we we love it all. Now I will say this though, there we did have so we have a in our board game section, we have a part where people can come, pay a small sitting fee and play board
Sure.
games, and we got like 100 different board games. I think it's like 120 different board games that are open, that they can go over and just play like all day long. And one of those was Cards Against Humanity. Uh, I'm not against it. However, there were some teenagers that came in and they were playing it, and there was some stuff that was being said that I was like, oh, this is not appropriate. Um, and I went over and talked to him. I was like, hey, I'm sorry, to interrupt, but could y'all keep it down maybe a little bit, and just be a little more appropriate, because Cards Against Humanity, that's what it does.
Right.
And when they as soon as they were done with that game, and they were fine with it and everything, because I was nice, and everything to them, when just asking for that, just basic stuff, just, hey, can you be a little quieter and watch what you're saying, please, because we are families that come in. And after that, after they were done though, and they put it back on the shelf, I went and took it and put it in the back. I was like, no, this can't be out there for the public to play anymore. It's too, yeah, it gets bad. So
No, I understand. I understand. So how are you marketing these events? Like, what is your primary way, like between you and Neil? What are your preferred marketing methods for getting like the word out about events or just the store in general?
word of mouth has been like the main thing. Um, and then besides that, as far as like marketing, it is ads on Facebook. Ads on Facebook. I tried Google ads. It just didn't really seem to to work, at least the way that I was wanting it to. And Just Facebook ads. That's like the only marketing, and word of mouth. There have been we did have a commercial when we first opened up. We had a commercial, so we had to write out the script and everything. And we Neil and I were talking, and we were like, we want someone that sounds like Sir Patrick Stewart, from Star Trek: The Next Generation. So we got a voice actor who sounded like him, and so we had a commercial that played for like the first 6 months or something, and it was playing on Adult Swim. It was playing on like on like different things, like Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, like after Family Guy, Big Bang Theory, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, we paid a lot for that.
That's very cool, though. Very unique thing to do, especially for a small local business.
Yeah, and if you look at the commercial now, it's like we were so empty back then when we first opened up. Now everything we had was really nice. It was just so empty, like as far as like stuff to hold product and everything, and the layout. And now, so like if you look at it now, you really notice, wow, we've changed so much in 8 years, and it's all been improvements, things that like we have a D&D room, like that people can reserve, and that stays reserved, like like it's like there's no spaces available, like it stays reserved. And then that was an improvement to the store. We're like, hey, we got this room, why not make it to it used to be like a lounge area where people would hang out. However, people wouldn't use it that often. So I just came up with, like, why don't we just use this as a private place where the people can go play D&D? And so they do it back there. And then it's so big. D&D is that we have it out during the non-magic hours.
Right. Right. That's a unique idea that you have a dedicated room for it. Like what other things would you say with the store like you specialize in or that you offer that you may not see at another store?
The number one thing to me, and I'm not saying other stores don't have this. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not. I'm never negative about another store or anything like that. I want everyone to succeed. The number one thing for me and my employees is like loving the people. Like just act and being genuine, like genuinely loving the people and being genuinely, hey, I want to help you. Like I want to help you. Please let me help you. We don't beg, but we definitely want, we want to help people. And just that customer service stuff, everything with customer service is the number one thing for me. Besides that, like having the D&D room, having the dollar bin, which is what I've been told is unique in our area. Having those life size statues, and just the layout. Like when you go into our store, it's not when I was growing up, when comic book stores started coming out, they were like these little hole in the wall, almost dungeon like, kind of smelled. It was like no air conditioning or heat. That's just the way it was back then, and when you come into our store, like I love seeing kids right when they walk into our store for the first time, because their mouths will just drop open and they'll just be looking around. We have LED neon lights all along the ceiling, that do 24 hours a day. Our special green LED lights. We have all this special, like awesome, custom made, like really cool stuff. Like there's the Justice League that is in the silhouettes on this on the ceiling above. One of the comic book sections, and there was this company that used to make like comic book stands and stuff. They went out of business bunch of years back. Before they went out of business, though, we got like all this stuff for them, from them, and it's just top of the line, high quality stuff. We deal a lot with anime. We have a huge manga section that was a part of changing right there. I love anime, and I just really noticed there's a huge anime community in this area. So we started getting manga. We started getting a lot of anime statues. Changing to meet the market has been a big thing for us that I think sets us apart from some. We have a 85-inch TV that we had put on one of the walls in the gaming area, that just nonstop is just showing all events coming up and just information, just so much change, and everything that we do like to the highest of quality, which is expensive. However, that's what we want, and that's what we do. We want everything to be the highest of quality, so that no one can come in and be like, oh, this is cheap. This is cheap looking, or this is a rundown store, or anything like that. No one can say that and be honest if they come into our store. Like it's very, there's other stores that are nice like ours, and stores that are nicer than ours, that I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Y'all spent tons of like bags of money, gold bullion you were just handing to the bank.
I'm sure too with your customers, with the attention to detail that you have, the genuineness that I could tell you have, and how much effort you put in to the place just in general. I'm sure your customers really do appreciate, what it is you're doing. And I'm curious if you have the time. I know a lot of your time is consumed running the store, helping customers. Do you ever have the time to like, sit down and play, say, a game of Magic with them?
Not anymore. Unfortunately, I don't. Now, I did play Arena for a long time. As a store owner, what I realized, because I used to play like in the standard events. When I learned how to play Magic, it was through Modern, and then I switched to standard, and I really loved the format and everything. And I would play, in the events. I wasn't a judge or anything like that. I'm not a judge at all. And I'm not even like a great player or anything. I'm an average player. I play for fun. Like, if I played against somebody and I won, then sometimes people would be like, "Oh, well, he's the owner of the store. He can get any card he wants," which is not true. I was having to buy from other stores and all kinds of stuff to build my deck, and I didn't have like killer awesome decks. And like I said, I wasn't like a great player. But sometimes people would be like, "Oh, he's the owner of the store. He gets any card he wants." And then if I lost against someone, they'd go, "Oh, he's the owner of the store and he don't know anything about Magic." Although I've been playing for years, I played Magic when it first came out. I wish I would have gotten into it back then. However, D&D was my thing back then, and we were playing with alpha beta cards, and I was like, "Oh, it's all right," and I regret that now. Oh, I regret it.
I can imagine. Yeah. I wish I was playing back then myself.
Yeah, I was in the military back then, and one of my buddies, that he was showing me that and everything, and I just the reality of it was not that I wasn't interested in it, I just couldn't get it. Is what it was, and probably he probably wasn't a good teacher, to be honest, and to be honest, mostly it was time. I just didn't have the time. I can't run the store and play in the events too. So I went to arena, and I played arena a ton, a ton. I'm all about the bling too. I got to get all the new fancy lands, and I got to get the alternate versions of the cards I'm playing with. So yeah, so I played arena for a very long time. I know, which is probably like the antithesis of a game store owner. However, that was the only time I could do it. Was like,
I was going to say that seemed like that was your escape. It was your downtime.
yeah, it literally, yes, it literally was. Because I loved it so much, and I just didn't have the time to play it at the store because I'm running the store and having to do all these other things and help everybody and stuff. So I just couldn't do that. So then I'd get home like at midnight or something and play for like a couple hours, or when I woke up in the morning, I would play, arena for a couple hours. So yeah, I was able to do that, for a while. Yeah, I was heavy into it, heavy into it.
At least you had that, that option to do something at home to like wind down at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I do have friends, so like I can't play board games at the store because I would every minute have to get up and go away. Same thing, like I can't play D&D at the store. I can't do anything at the store that's for me because the customers are first before me. So like we greet someone within 7 seconds of them walking in. We help. Hey, how can I help you? So and there's that. So like D&D board games, I couldn't do those at the store either. I couldn't do anything that recreationally was for me. So I'm lucky to have a group that comes over to my house every Sunday, and we play D&D, and then also board games. There's some friends of mine that come over about twice a month on a Friday and Friday night, and then we'll play some board games then.
That sounds like a blast. I think it's great that you've cultivated that, just from the people you've surrounded yourself with.
Yeah, like I said, I have made great relationships through this. As a matter of my fiance, I'm getting married in November. My fiance, her and I met at the game store during board game night.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What is one thing you would say if you had to pick one thing that you'd want to either improve about the store or update to grow the store in the future? What's one thing, money aside, that you would like to do?
I'd like to expand the store so I could have more room for the players. That like so you're asking what's a wish?
Exactly.
So my wish would be so I could expand the store to have more room for the players. It's for more players because I just love these people that come in. I just love them, and I just I want to have more people to love, more space for them to come in, and that's the number one thing. And you can't make everybody happy. you know, sometimes people will get upset for you, whether it's real or not. If it's real and they talk to me about it, and I'm in the wrong, then I'll deeply, humbly apologize. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Or if I, and there have been a couple times, where I've made like mistakes and stuff like that, and then they pointed out to me, and I'm like, oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I rang that up the wrong way or something like that, or I humbly apologize and fixed it immediately, and then yeah, if we make a mistake with something, we want everyone to leave with a happy experience. So like if we mess up on something, for example, here you go. Was a mistake that we recently made. We accidentally sold one extra pre-release kit than we had available for one of the Magic the Gathering pre-releases. So you're only able to get so many pre-release kits, and one of my employees just didn't write the person's name down. And I talked with the person, and I was like, oh, I know this person. This person's been here for years. And he didn't have a receipt or anything like that. He said that he did get that, though. So I was like, okay, I believe you. I think you did. We refunded him, and then I gave him like a box of like Modern Masters.
Oh wow, that's extremely generous.
And he was like, oh, and he was a nice guy, and he wasn't like upset or anything like that. I'm sure he would have been happy with just the discount, but we always go beyond that. Like if someone, I'll do anything I can to make somebody happy in the store, because that's what I want. I want people to have nothing but happy, safe, positive experiences with the store. And we weren't going to lose him or anything like that. I just wanted to more than make up for that. And when we gave him the box, he was like, Chris, I can't accept this, man. I wasn't try to do anything. I just was trying to do that. And I said, no, man, we made a mistake. You have this box, man. Like this, I want you to be happy, and I don't want you to think, anything negative. It's our fault. We made a mistake, and I'm sorry. And he walked away very, very happy. I don't know what he pulled on, but yeah, but that set is of course a money set, like that. We do a customer appreciation day where we do special events, and just we hand out so much free stuff. Like people, I don't think people know it. Like every time someone, like a kid comes in, here's something special I do. If a kid comes in and they, with their parents, and they buy a couple dollar comics or just a couple comics or something, and I watch them, I say, are you? Is this your money? Is this your allowance money that you're using? And it's normally a yes. And then I say, well, you know what? We have a special today where if you buy, and I just say whatever the comics are they just bought, then you get to go over to the dollar section and pick five comics out, and those are free. So if they came in and bought a Spider-Man, a Hulk, and a X-Men, I say, yeah, if someone comes in today and buys a Spider-Man, Hulk, and an X-Men, we have a special where they get the 5 free comics. And I do that also, even if it's not their allowance. Just comic books. A comic book store, in my opinion, should be like a magical place for kids. So like that's something that we always do. And then there's Magic players that come in, and things have happened. Like bad things have happened in their life to where like, oh, my car got broken into, or my house burnt down, or I'm having I just lost my job. And they'll tell me their stories while they're giving up these cards that they love and everything like that. And just normally we'll buy them from them, and then normally I just, hey, here's, I don't want to say the amount of money, but like it's a good amount of money. Like, hey, here's this to help you with this. There was one guy, he was like, there was his transmission, and he told me what the transmission cost was, and we bought his cards, and then I asked him how much does the transmission cost, and he told me, and I said, wait a minute, and I went and got my own money, and just, here, this is for your transmission, man. I know what it's like to go through hard times, man. I hope this helps you out, and I know it was painful for you to give up these cards, so I hope this helps you out, and that's things that local businesses do, that Amazon ain't doing that.
No, of course not. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking with you, and you're an absolutely genuine guy. You do great things in your community. I could definitely see it. Congratulations on your upcoming marriage. Thank you for your service to the country from your time in the military. I've really enjoyed this conversation, hearing what you're doing for people. I surely hope to make it out. I've been once, but I hope to come back again to North Carolina, stop by the store, say hello. Um, Thank you very much again for doing this. And as we close out here, where could people find your store online?
Thecomicdimension.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Chris, again for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for the kind words, Frank. You're just an awesome person, and I this was a great experience. I love this. I love talking with you. You have a great vibe, and you and I just seem to flow. And if you ever want to do this again, I'd be more than happy and willing to do it.
Absolutely. Would be more than happy to do it as well. And likewise, the feeling's mutual. You're a good dude, man. And I hope we'll cross paths again in the future.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of the Match Slip podcast. That was Chris from the Comic Dimension. And we were very fortunate that he was able to, at such short notice, join us on the program today. Links will be available in the show notes, which you can access at anchor.fm/thematchslip or at thematchslip.com. Our newsletter is there as well if you'd like to sign up for that. And we will see you next time on our next episode where we interview another game store owner. So until next time, take care, everyone.